Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the Gospel of Luke. And today, John the Baptist is going to be born. We've already seen how Luke likes to work in pairs, not unlike Plutarch's Lives, comparing and contrasting things. Like in the book of Acts, we have Peter and Paul. So it's not surprising that his birth narrative has two births, the birth of John the Baptist and the birth of Jesus. So if we remember when John the Baptist's birth was announced, we remember that when his father, elderly father Zacharias, protested that this miracle could not take place and was not quick to believe the fact of it, that there were consequences. He was unable to speak until the child was born. And in fact, after the child was born, for another week plus, he was unable to speak. But he gets his voice back today, and as his son is born, and he presents his son at the temple. So we're in Luke chapter 1, verses 57 through 66. Now the time had come for Elizabeth to give birth, and she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her relatives heard that the Lord had displayed his great mercy toward her, and they were rejoicing with her. And it came about that on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to call him Zacharias after his father. And his mother answered and said, No, but he shall be called John. And they said to her, There is no one among your relatives who is called by that name. And they made signs to his father as to what he wanted him to be called. And he asked for a tablet, and he wrote as follows: His name is John. And they were astonished. And at once his mouth was opened, and his tongue was loosed, and he began to speak in praise of God. And fear came on all of those living around them. And all of these matters were being talked about all over the hill country of Judea. And all who heard them kept them in mind, saying, What then will this child be? For the hand of the Lord was certainly with him. Okay. It's a story we all know. I mean, I was told it as a 3-year old in a Bible class with a flannel board. I mean, I can remember. Um, we know this story so well, and the writing of his name is John. Jonathan, the Hebrew name Jonathan, which we already know a Jonathan from the Old Testament. The Hebrew name Jonathan means God is gracious, basically, where God has, you know, freely given us gifts. God is gracious. That's the name that's what the name Jonathan means, and John is just a shortened form of that name. Time for Elizabeth to be born, which in Luke's gospel is 9 months. We've added up the 6 plus the 3, and that's 9, which is generally what we think of being the average gestational period. The Jews back in that day thought in terms of 10 months, but that they had a lunar calendar. Let's not forget that. But I just want to say it is 10 months because it's 40 weeks. And when I was a new dad, and the doctor told me 9 months and 40 weeks, I said, Your math is wrong. There are 4 weeks in a month, and 40 divided by 4 is 10. There are 10 months. So don't tell me it's 9 months, because at 9 months, I'm expecting a child to be born, and I'm going to have to wait 4 more weeks. Anyway, that's my rant on your time. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, um, it's just a wonderful account. Let's not forget, he was told when your child is born, you're going to be mute until your child was born. Well, the child was born, and 8 days later, he's still mute. 8 days. That's the day that you present to be circumcised. Circumcision being practiced by Abraham back in the book of Genesis, but this being codified as the law for the Jews in the book of Leviticus. And that's in Leviticus chapter 12, by the way, if you want to look that up and read that. And so we have a little bit of the patriarchy at work here. Clearly, Zachariah has communicated everything to Elizabeth. Elizabeth knows his name is supposed to be John, but they say nobody in your family is named John. Traditionally, a child would be named after a grandfather, sometimes a father, or sometimes a prestigious forefather. But it was common to name a child after one of his grandfathers. And there's no one in the family named John that anyone can remember, and so they don't take her word for it. They go ask Zacharias. Zacharias gets a tablet because he can't speak. His name is John, and his tongue is loosed, and he praises God. And we're going to hear what he says next time we're together because we have his song, which is the second song of the four songs that we have in the birth account. Um, and it's a beautiful song, and we'll read it next time. But Luke, as a storyteller, before he gives us that song, lets us know about the community and their reaction. The community is a character in the account. It reminds me of the book of Ruth, because in the book of Ruth, as soon as she gets back to Bethlehem, there are the women of Bethlehem, and they're always chiming in with things, at the beginning and at the end, and they are like a character in the narrative, and the community here at the very beginning, the neighbors and relatives, the community are celebrating at the end, the community they're celebrating and they're wondering what child this will be because this is clearly a child of promise. This is clearly a child that God has special things marked out for. And reverence, fear came upon them all. Not cowering fear, not hiding under your bed, but reverence, awe of God. Something special is about to happen. Okay, when we're together next time, we'll look at Zacharias' song. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.